This company claims that they give you everything to set up an aquarium. And honestly, it's looking really good. Low iron glass, internal filter, adjustable lighting. It even comes with a heater and a lid. And at 2.5 gallons, it really could be a nice little bookshelf aquarium. But this isn't even an aquarium brand. This is Petempo. And they sent this to me for free so I could test it to give you my honest opinion about it. And since this is sold on Amazon, in shipping is really important too. So I haven't opened this up yet because if it's broken inside, does this even really matter? So let's open it up and let's see what's inside. So right off the bat, everything is packed really well. Let's see what's actually included here. Here's a tank, rimless low iron glass. You've got a clear lid, the built-in light with multiple modes, an internal filter, and it includes the heater. It even comes with some gravel and rocks. They're really trying to make this a complete setup. And honestly, it looks pretty good. Nice mix of natural earth tones on the rocks. But there's a couple of issues here. First, it's a pretty large grain size of the stone, I would say at this point, and it's barely enough to cover the bottom. You can see in some spots where you can still see the glass. And of course, I've rinsed this all before I put it in. But with something chunky and shallow like this, what's going to happen is that the waste is going to fall between the rocks and it's still going to be exposed to the water. Over time, that breaking down can affect the water quality. It can make it, kind of hard to get anything planted in it because there's no real depth. But basically, you're limited to water column feeders and plants that you can weigh down. So yeah, it looks good, but functionality is a bit limited. All right, let's get this thing filled up and see how it looks. Now, a lot of people make the mistake they just add water and think that it's ready for the fish, but it's not. You got to let this tank cycle. I have a video how to do that right here so you don't run into any trouble. But for now, let's just see what this thing is running like and how everything works. All right, let's talk about the light because this is where I had my first problem. It has adjustable modes and the intensity is adjustable, which is really nice. But it uses a USB in the old style USB and it doesn't come with a power adapter. So if you don't have an old style one, you're probably gonna have to run out and grab one. One thing I do want to point out right in the beginning is that you have 3 things to plug in: the filter, the heater, and a light. That's 3 plugs. So get yourself a circuit breaker attachment, and don't forget when you run your cords, always put a drip loop. But the bigger problem is that there is no built-in timer to the controller. And with no timer, what you could do is put it on a smart outlet or some sort of timer. But that doesn't work either because if you unplug it and plug it back in, it doesn't turn back on. So while you might not think this is a problem, this is actually a big issue if you have plants. And even if you didn't have plants, if you accidentally forgot to turn it off one day, say you had it at work and it was on all weekend, you're going to come back to an algae explosion. Consistency in lighting and something that is going to affect how much you actually enjoy this tank is going to be very important to me. So while it's not a huge deal, it is kind of important to me. So it probably means that I would end up upgrading the lighting. So to wrap it up, it's not a complete fail, but it's not a complete system either. All right, so I set up the internal filter here with the pump built into it, and it gives you 2 output modes. You've got a directional jet under the water. This is really quiet. You can point it up at the surface for some nice surface movement, or you can use the spray bar. This spreads out the flow more and gives you better surface agitation. You do get a little slight trickling sound, but honestly, it's kind of relaxed. Switching between the 2 is real easy between the spray bar or the underwater knob. The sponge itself looks pretty decent, around 30 ppi, maybe a little coarser. It's not very big, but neither is the tank. There's no real room for any chemical filtration like Purigen, so if you're going to add wood and you don't want the tannins, the brown water, this could be an issue. What I don't love is how much space it does take up inside the tank. In a tank this small, space does matter a lot. The bright yellow sponge has got a little bit to be desired, so I think you're going to mount it on the back wall because on the side you're going to be staring at this yellow sponge. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to squeeze out this sponge inside the tank, and I want to do it for 2 reasons. I want to see how the water flow pattern is with the spray bar here, and I want to see if this sponge will clear this tank overnight. When I woke up the next morning to check it, it did pretty good at clearing all that water, and not much had settled down on the bottom. The filter did a really good job of removing anything that was suspended still in the water. Now let's talk about the heater. It does have some really nice features. It's got out of water protection, which is really a nice one. Always recommend unplug your heater, but if you do make a mistake, at least it'll shut off if it's out of the water. It has overheat protection, so if it goes up way too high, it'll shut off. So these are some really nice options that are built in there. It is pretty accurate. I checked it with my thermal gun, and yep, it is usually within a degree or so of what it's reading. And the display does show you the tank temperature, the temperature you set it to, and then it'll show you with a little green light if the heater is on. But of course, there was a problem. It's big. I mean, it's really big, and this is a small tank. And that big display that's on all the time inside your tank is not very zen-like. So maybe this one you want to mount sideways on the wall so you don't see it. But it is a very nice heater, and I'm pleased with how it works. It's just the size is a little much for a tank this big. So the heater is kind of a split. It's not my favorite design, but it is definitely a good working unit. Now, overall build quality of the tank, it does look really nice. The seams are well done. The silicone is nice and clean. I've had no leaks in the tank. The bottom has a no-slip pad, which is really nice, so it doesn't scratch whatever you put it on, and you don't scratch the tank. It's not exactly like a foam pad where it's helped distributing the load, but at 2.5 gallons, is it that important? Overall, I think that the overall design build quality of the tank is pretty good. One thing I wish they would have done is that they made that felting on the bottom black, not white, because like I said before, where we could see through, now I see white on the bottom of that right there. So yeah, if it was black, that would have been a little bit nice of a touch, but not really a big deal, honestly. The lid fits really well. It's got cutouts for the cord and for the lights, and it's got guideposts to hold on the side. And like I said before, I am kind of worried about will it get scratched up over time. So I'm going to let this run for about 3 weeks or so, and that's going to really give me time to cycle it and see how this tank does over some time, not just fill up with water and tell you it's a great piece, because that's not really a test. So we're back, and it's 3 weeks later, and I have some updates about how this tank did in that time. And man, I'm really happy I gave it some time to really show me how it operated. The first thing I want to talk about is the lid, where I did have some concern. As you can see right here, the lid started to bow and crease over time, and that was kind of funny because I didn't really have the light running that long, maybe 4 hours, because I can't turn it on and go to work. The suction cups on the heater did come off, and it kind of stayed in place, but in all fairness, I think I just have bad luck with suction cups underwater. I never can get things to stay in place. Other than that, everything's been fine. The filter's been really good. You can see I'm running it with the spray bar, and you get the splash up on the lid, so it kind of gives you an idea what to expect from it. So I'm going to add a few orange neocaridina shrimp because I really think that would make this pop. So it really comes down to this. Out of the box, it's simple, but with a few upgrades, it could be a really beautiful planted tank. If you're thinking about picking one up, I dropped one in the link below, and they do sell it without the heater also, so you can choose a different heater if you're not looking for that one particularly, which is a nice option, and I'm happy that they offer that. And if you're new to aquariums, watch this next one because it's going to save you a lot of headaches.